even though as
This meeting is being recorded.
even as a professor, I could talk for hours. I'm not going to do it. I am going to share this with other people. I also understand that Herman and Elizabeth are here, and so I'm going to tell both of them if there's anything you all want to add, be my guest and jump in and help us with this. So what we decided to do for this campus conversation was to share with you sort of a timeline of the program, because each of the alumni here came in at different times. And so the college actually set up this display case for programs to highlight their programs. And when it was our turn, Karen Rosnickel, bless her heart, put together this huge poster for us to put in ours. And I decided this was sort of a nice thing to share with the rest of you. So for those of you who graduated with your master's degree, you'll notice that our credit hours, and I'll just point here where we're talking, is now up to 130 credits roughly. And that was to add the additional courses we needed when we transitioned to the doctoral degree. We are still We are still a 3-year program, but when we went to the DPT, we did begin a May start instead of the August start that we used to do. So we go May to May, and that also allows our students to be the first to graduate in the state. We do have 60 students, but that is not, it's a little misleading when you say the 60 because 48 are in Mount Pleasant and 12 are in Houghton, which we'll talk about a little bit differently because CAPTE sees us as 2 different locations, and so they accredit both places separately. The other thing is for all of you, this education model hasn't changed. It's the same model we've always had. And I would like to acknowledge Elizabeth Mostrom because she was definitely thinking visionary when this was set up. A lot of schools we have to have a integrated clinical experiences per CAPTE. That means that students need to get into clinics and do things. And what a lot of schools do with that, particularly in the urban areas, is they send students into the clinic with other therapists, and some of it's observation and some little hands-on, and they're sort of integrated. Because of us being in a rural area, that was not really feasible, and so Elizabeth came with these mock clinic courses. You all remember mock? It's that actually the title of the course is Clinical Education 1 and 3, but we always call them mock. And so that allows you to get that sort of integrated clinical experience before you actually go out on those larger experiences. The other thing that's really unique, and I find this out all the time when I go to national meetings, is our use of regional coordinators. Having people who live in the community where the students are has helped us immensely build really great partnerships. At one time, a lot of students want to go out of state and do different things, and CAPTE is actually now encouraging people to have closer partnerships and students closer to the university, and we've been doing that for 30 years. We do have some out of states if students want them. The other thing is with those longer rotations, we still have our pod meetings, so students aren't out there and feeling like they're not connected to the university, because a lot of other places the students don't come back at all, and so this makes it really nice to keep them connected, and they get to learn from each other. The other thing is about research. Having moved into the health professions building, we now have a dedicated motion capture lab with 12 cameras. It was a grant we got from the National Science Foundation to develop that lab. And so that's given us some really, really nice equipment. We have some other equipment. Faculty, they've changed as faculty come in now. When Karen and I laughed and said when we came in, we were basically here's your teaching load, go at it. Faculty get a year of reduced load to get the research going. They also are getting startup funds. And so people have been buying equipment and things that have helped us to have more equipment to do research. And so we're finding that is happening. So the faculty has started increasing what they're doing. In addition, the student projects are getting to be more sophisticated, and more of those are actually publishable and are beginning to be published. We did change the format a little bit. For those of you who are master's degree students, I believe you remember some of you did a thesis and some of you did the project with the case study. Now everybody's project has to be manuscript ready when it's turned in, with the idea that it makes it easier then to get it published. The other thing is the faculty continue to be very professionally active. They serve on committees for the Michigan American Physical Therapy Association. They are doing things nationally. There's this new organization called ACAP, which is for clinical education educators, or for educators in general in PTA programs. And a lot of people are active in that now. And so that has been really nice. The other thing is the community engagement. We've really expanded that in the 30 years of the program. We've continued with the Hands for Health Clinic, which was started by the very first class, and is still student run with a faculty advisor. But we've added some other things. Jamie Haynes, one of our newer faculty, is really interested in Parkinson's disease. So she began a weekly exercise class called Move for Health that the students run. It started out for people with Parkinson's disease, but it quickly expanded to other neurological diagnoses. They've also in the summer do a fit walking program at the Commission on Aging, and has done some research in that area. The students continue, the PTSO Club continues to host a 5K run to donate to a foundation of some kind. Over the years, that's changed. The first few groups did diabetes. Then some groups were donating to the Multiple Sclerosis Society. And the last 3 years, the students have been donating to the Cerebral Palsy Foundation. And the other thing that's really nice too, the students have also gotten more engaged. They're actually participating in walks by other foundations. So the MS Walk, the Parkinson's Walk down in Lansing. As a matter of fact, I believe our students were the top fundraisers this past year in that walk. So that's pretty much, I think, everything that I wanted to cover on this slide. The rest of the slides are literally this whole thing right here is a timeline. And that's what the next slides are going to be. So Elaine, if you would like to take over the next slide. Elaine, you're still muted. Elaine, we're still not hearing you, so I'm not sure what's going on. Allison, can you unmute her?
She is already, I'll try this. Oops. Let's see.
Yeah, now it's not saying you're muted, so you're not muted now, but we're still not hearing you.
It might be a computer audio issue. I don't know if Deb, do you want to just take over for this slide? And
I can't. It might be an audio issue. Actually, Elaine, you want to walk down to my office? She's just down the hall. We'll just do it that way. How's that?
That works.
PTs. We can go with the flow and do anything we need to do. So I will have her, because she's on a computer that's not hers. Be my guest. Come on in and have a seat. Actually, I was saying that. I'll come down to your office, but then I realized I was on mute. Okay. All right. Thanks. All right. What I was saying is hi to the graduates. Thanks for joining. For those who are not graduates of our program, don't know me, I'm an emeritus professor. I was one of the first faculty that were hired for the program, and I just retired in 2020. So I've done some things in the program here to help continue teaching and that type of thing. And Deb asked me to come in and just talk about the early days of the program. And on the slide, you can see that, again, the approval for our master's level physical therapy program, which Deb already mentioned was how we started the program, was in 1992. And I was hired by the founding director, Herm Triesenberg, and helped in some of the development of the program, but also taught other courses on campus because we didn't have students here. Also, Dr. Mostrom, Elizabeth Mostrom, was hired at that time as the clinical director, and then later Peter Lubert and actually my husband, Jeff Betts, was also helping with the development. In
the advent of this program, we were in Pierce Hall, and there's a picture of that on the slides there. And it was retrofitted so that we could have laboratories, anatomy laboratories, and that type of thing. So the bottom picture is showing what was then our physical therapy treatment lab, so that they could learn techniques for, treatment. And it was pretty small. We certainly expanded since then. And as 93 and 95, in that time period, additional faculty were added as we developed second year of the program and third year of the program. So we had a core faculty for the first year of the program and then added additional faculty. And Sheila Kane was in the neuro area, Janet Woods Reynolds was in the orthopedic area, and then Nancy Epstein and Gail Capehart were clinical coordinators, not coordinators, but yeah. And they assisted Elizabeth Mostrom on that clinical model that Deb's already mentioned. The class began then in 94, and 45 students were admitted. Again, they were admitted into a Master of Science program in physical therapy. And what's interesting is that we did not yet have accreditation. The way that this was awarded was when the program was going and the students graduated. So they were taking a bit of a risk, but it was all explained to them that this program is sure to go. We had some good people on board who developed the program and good faculty on board, so it was not going to be an issue. And then in the period of 96 to 97, additional faculty were added, and that included Deb. Lori Swan was a neuroclinical specialist. Jan Perkins, another PhD, came in and started helping with developing more of the research model for us. Bill Stahl was a clinician, a local clinician. I actually worked part-time in his clinic, and he was an orthopedic specialist, and he taught some adjunct courses for us, particularly in the laboratory courses for the hands-on experience for students. John Stevenson had a biomechanics background, and he was added more as an adjunct, I think, at that time, but John also finished his PT degree with us. So the other pictures that are shown there are just examples of, the space that we had, somewhat limited but adequate for us for the number of students. And then we also were starting our research protocols. And the slide with the middle on the right side is showing the CyBEX and doing some research in that area. I had done some things in that area as well as others. So we started doing some of our research in those laboratory spaces. There was no specific space for each faculty member. We shared the research area, and just as whatever equipment that we needed, we could put into that space. And that gave the opportunity, obviously, for students to be engaged in research. Do you want me to do any more? Or?
No, I have a good.
Okay.
Next slide. Thank you. Thanks for letting in.
Yeah.
All right. Karen, you want to hit the next one for us?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces and names on the screen. So following that initial development of the program, this slide really captures some of the things that the students got involved in right away. And Hands for Health, which is our pro bono clinic, as many of those of you that are alumni know, opened and was one of the first in the nation. And now, if you go to any national conference and talk to different programs, almost every program in the country has some form of a pro bono clinic. Ours originally started, we didn't have space on campus, so we partnered with some of the local community physical therapy or healthcare facilities to use their equipment. So you'll see on the bottom left there, that's over at what's now McLaren's Outpatient Physical Therapy Center, I believe. And that has continued. There's been changes to that because of the Affordable Health Care Act. We're still able to treat people who are either underinsured or who have expired benefits, or their benefits are pretty costly. And that's done in our newer facility. And that is a pretty active program still. The students are still leading that, and they still have faculty supervision for that. And we've had more faculty rotate through that in the last few years. In the spring of 1997, we graduated our inaugural class, and we also received our initial 5-year accreditation. So initially with our accrediting body, you're awarded a 5-year accreditation, which is the max. And of course, under the great leadership we had, we were able to achieve that pretty easily. And then thereafter, in around 1999, Tim Zippel and myself joined the faculty. And Tim recently retired. I still have probably 10 years if they'll let me stay before I retire. But I was early on a regional clinical coordinator, and then Herman and Elizabeth just offered a lot of mentorship, as did the other faculty, and allowed me to eventually become a full-time faculty member here. And I've loved it ever since. So I'm grateful for that opportunity. And then we came to 2022 and we received our 10-year accreditation. So after that 5 years, we had to continue showing that we were meeting the requirements, and we were very successful in doing that again. And then greatly needed after that, or I guess a great expansion for us, was becoming the School of Health Sciences was established. I believe that was was it Dr. Kopp, Deb, or Elizabeth? You guys might be able to confirm that, who really helped us to try and, with our leadership, get our own School of Health Sciences and established our MSPT program as being included in that. Can you go to the next slide, Deb? And then in 2023, as part of the expanding number of healthcare programs on campus and Dr. Kopp's vision, we were able to become a College of Health Professions and actually move into the building that we're currently in, the Herbert H. and Grace A. Dow of Health Science, which we affectionately call the College of Health Professions, or CHP. And this allowed us to bring some of those pro bono services onto campus, because the expansion allowed us to have our own space, which you see on the top left of that slide, in what's called the Carl Center. So the Carl Center used to be established primarily for the speech and language programs and camps, but we were then allowed to have our own space and to begin to provide the pro bono services, but also expand into being able to provide some physical therapy services. Faculty could provide those through participants who have their own insurance. Thereafter, we then transitioned from the MS to the DPT program, and there was about 3 years where we were transitioning, and students may have entered as an MS and wanted to continue on to that DPT, so there was a bit of a allowance for students to do that. It was, I think, for faculty and for students, it was a crazy time of that transition, but it went relatively smoothly overall. And you can see on the top right of this slide is a picture of our building that we're currently in. You can see the classroom space below that, where students have been since we moved into this building. We have our own kind of our own dedicated place. We share that with other people, but that's the space we're typically in. And then we had some of our own lab spaces. You'll see in that third picture below, those were the lab spaces we had at that time. It was a singular lab, and all the labs were scheduled around that. And then the last thing that I'm going to share is that there was additional faculty added. So Raju Chaudhry, who's kind of been on and off with us, but now is on a 10-year track with us, was added to run that physical therapy space up in the Carl Center. Dr. Ksenia Ustinova was added and has added quite a bit in terms of research. She has secured quite a few large research grants on motor control and a variety of biomechanical kinds of research activities. Dr. Jennifer Sansom was added as well. She's a neurological PT, PEDS. And then Dr. Jamie Haynes was added, again, neurological. Linda Hall replaced Gail Capehart as a regional clinical coordinator in the south east part of the state when Gail Capehart retired. And then Kristen Vander, and Linda was one of our first students in one of the first classes. So she's an alumni. And then Kristen Vander, a Duke PT school graduate, and a neurological clinical specialist, joined us in the Southwest to cover that area where Nancy and Elizabeth had covered, because Nancy Epstein had retired. That is about the same time that our pre-PT club became a registered student organization on campus. And then very shortly after that, our program, the DPT program, became a part of the School and Rehabilitation Medical Sciences department within the College of Health Professions. So we just continued to gain more organization and more partnerships with some of the other like programs in the university. I think that was my last slide, Deb.
All right, that would bring me up. Thank you, Karen. My name is Dr. Jennifer Sansom. I have been one of the faculty for about 10 years now, and I want to also thank all of you for joining in this conversation today. So following, as we're moving along this timeline, you can see that we've had reaccreditation occur, and we come to around like the early 2010s, 2012, and we had reaccreditation again. So after that second reaccreditation, the program began to experience not only shifts in leadership following the retirement of our founder, Dr. Herm Triesenberg, and the transition of Dr. Deb Silkwood-Scher from faculty to program director, but we also started to see an expansion of the program with a satellite campus working in coordination with Michigan Tech University in Houghton, way up in the UP. That expansion kind of came online around 2014. And Dr. Pete Loubert, who was one of the very early faculty for the program, he's been really instrumental in helping make that initiative a reality. And he was the site coordinator for the first cohorts in Houghton to both not only enter up there, but also to graduate from the program. So that initiative, the students and faculty who were up in Houghton were connected in real time to the Mount Pleasant campus for all lectures and lab sessions. So it was a very interactive back and forth relationship that we've had with the campus up in Houghton. And that novel initiative gave students on both campuses access to not only more faculty, but also more community learning environments with diverse training as well as experiences. And then during this time also, we began to see additional retirements for our founding faculty, including Dr. Elizabeth Mostrom and Dr. Elaine Betts and Dr. Tim Zippel. He wasn't one of the founders, but he also has retired early 2020, I believe. And then we've started to see more and more hiring of fresher faces, which we'll see more of on the next slide. Okay, so we have talked about how the program began, initially we were in Pierce Hall, and then we went to the College of Health Professions. We had a smaller lab space, it's all relative to what we have now, but a smaller lab space in the College of Health Professions. And then in 2020, right before COVID changed our world, our program moved into new lab spaces within the college. And these new lab spaces provide us separate labs for both the neuro and musculoskeletal courses. So we've been very fortunate to have so much space, and that increased space has allowed us to have more specialized equipment like an overhead harness system in the neuro lab. So it's been very exciting as we've been able to kind of continue to move into these spaces. And yes, it is a process, and we're continuing to kind of add things and change things as time goes on. We've also, as you've heard moving through this presentation, the program has had a commitment to the community. We have definitely continued that dedication to community involvement, not only here in Mount Pleasant, but also up in the Houghton area. On both sites, we've had the Move for Health program that began in around 2017, 2018, and then subsequently the Fit Feet exercise program. These initiatives were brought forward by Dr. Jamie Haynes and have been continually overseen by her. And they've been very important, not only for our students as excellent learning opportunities, but also for our community members and their health overall. And we've also transitioned from being a program to a standalone department within the College of Health Professions. And with all of these changes, and as you can tell, we just continue to evolve. We've also seen the addition of even more new faculty. So the cycle continues on and on. And so I'm going to transition now to, I don't know if it goes back to Karen or who the next speaker is for the next slide.
Yeah, it comes back to me.
Okay, it goes back to Deb. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, and so just so you know, the slide at the bottom, one of the things in the new edition that we have is an interprofessional simulation lab. And so this is a picture of the simulation lab. Some of you may remember when you were doing cardiopulmonary, we'd put up a folder and we'd walk up and say, here's how the EKG is now changed. So you had to look at it and figure what you're going to do. Now, the director can actually manipulate the monitors in the lab at any time to change what you're reading. So it's been a really nice addition for education. We use it for interprofessional education up there, but also for we go up we use the lab, use the room itself just for some of our classes. I'm happy to say we completed our 4th CAPTI visit in 2022. And again, got another 10 years with no problems. And so we're very excited that that happened. People always ask me, why am I retiring? And anybody who's done one of these goes, yep, after that, I've talked to a lot of directors, I'm not doing another one, they always say. The one thing that I'm sad about is that the administration made the decision to close the Houghton expansion program. And I want to make it really clear, this was not a faculty decision. I think some things happened at the same time. We did have difficulty filling that cohort last year. And so faculty made the decision to not have a cohort, but then to, buckle down and really work on recruiting for the next year. In the meantime, our coordinator at that time, Cam Williams, had announced he was going to retire. I had asked the administration to just look at our memorandum of understanding because I wanted to make sure it was updated because I didn't want to be recruiting students and not have an agreement. And I think when all those things happened and we had an administrator who I'm not sure understood everything, decided to say, well, that money can stay here that would cost us, even though we were covering the cost of the program. So I'm pretty sad about that, and so are the faculty. We are now teaching out the last group up there. They will graduate in 2016, but classes, because of our way our program is set up, the whole entire 3rd year is out in the clinic. And so they won't need the space up there. So we will be actually having everything moved by next summer. I think that was it. All right, the future, where are we going? CAPTI is nothing but if they don't change. So CAPTI is always looking at the standards and accreditations, and a new set of standards came out in January of this year. And so we're beginning to, as faculty, to look at that and figure out where we fit in terms of our curriculum. It wasn't huge changes, so we're in pretty good shape. And some of the things they even brought up, we were already doing. And so we just have to sit down and take a look at that and make sure that we're already in compliance and we're not having to change anything. Karen, you want to talk a little bit about competency-based education and the EPAs?
Yes, so traditional physical therapy education has typically, curriculums have been designed by the universities, the faculty, and then the competencies are created after the faculty establish the goals and objectives for the program, again with CAPTI guidance. There's a new push in education, which really started in terms of healthcare from medicine, and they're already in the process of developing this. But I would challenge you to look and see that almost every healthcare profession is already in some phase of looking at moving towards this already. And physical therapy is probably one of the earlier leaders after medicine. And we've collaborated with some of those in medicine that have been doing this. But competency-based education looks at society's needs and the safety of the people that we care for and works backwards to create curriculums that are designed to ensure that the students are competent to carry out that level of care and the safe care that society expects. So it's a reverse of really how we've done it. So it's looking at what do we need as a profession? What is the essence of being a good physical therapist, providing safe and standard care, and then working backwards to establish outcomes, milestones, outcomes, and those type of things. Another piece of this that we're looking at and is really being pushed quite quickly. The competencies are nearing completion by the APTA, by a group of people that have been spearheading what are those competencies that we should be looking at. But that same group has also been looking at what's called entrustable professional acts, which are how do we know that the person we're graduating is trusted or trustworthy to be able to carry out the essence of being a physical therapist? And this is all of you that have been clinical educators or clinical instructors, you get that feeling like, I trust this person, I can walk away, or I don't trust this person. And I think in PT, we always hear, I don't trust them to work with my grandmother or my mother. There's something beyond being competent that you have to be trustworthy. And the EPAs are ways of assessing that trustworthiness. And it has to be done in the clinic. It cannot be done in the classroom. It authentically needs to be assessed out in the clinic. So these EPAs are being developed also currently. The measures and the way that these will be recommended to be carried out, medicine is using these as well. I believe Michigan State here in Michigan was one of the test medical schools for a recent study. I think it's in the process or just being completed. I haven't seen the work from that. But this is where we're going, and our faculty are currently looking at our curriculum and at competencies and our assessments to make sure that we are moving towards this as well. Fortunately, I was able to be selected as one of the reactor panel members. So that's given me a little insight as to what they're looking at, and that's helped us to be able to look at our assessments. So look forward to that. It probably will be fully realized about the time I retire, I suspect. So it's not coming immediately, but the competencies are coming. The EPAs to be there fully utilized, I suspect it will take us some time yet. Thanks, Deb.
You're welcome. And this is the reason Karen was discussing that, because she knows them even better than I do. So the curriculum, she noted, we are looking at that. This will come to no surprise to any of you. The cost of PT education is skyrocketing. We know we're getting close to that point where it's not going to be worthwhile with the salaries that students get when they graduate. So one of the things, while we're also looking at the curriculum for the competency-based part, we're also looking at where can we cut credits to try to get the cost down of the program. So you may see some changes happening. The other thing is faculty, as I've always said, love to talk, and I like to talk about the things they like. So also looking for things we've added that maybe aren't entry level, but nice to know. It's a very hard conversation with faculty to talk about what you need to know versus what's nice to know. Because some of us think the things that are nice to know, we really think you need to know. And so we're kind of looking at that as well. And this is a national conversation. And we have actually submitted some things to administration besides cutting credits to figure out a way to get a handle on our tuition and try to get the cost down so our program is more affordable. We're also looking, we'd already looked at this a little bit, but now with the closure of the Houghton campus, we are likely going to be putting in a request to CAPTE to increase our cohort size here in Mount Pleasant. If you looked at those labs, those rooms were originally designed to hold 32 students. And so we could increase class size without any problem because we already have the space. So that's another thing that we are looking at. The other piece is changes in leadership. And I will say the last 5 or 6 years, it's been a revolving door around here as to who's where. But one of the new ones that is happening is we have a new president who is starting on November 1st. We're actually really excited about this because his background is healthcare. He was a pharmacist. He taught in a pharmacy program. So he's also coming in as a person who was a faculty member. The last couple administrators actually had come up on the administration side of education, not from the faculty side. So we're very hopeful that'll happen. When I met him, I made a comment. And he said something about increasing class size. And I go, and he goes, is that an accreditation issue? And I'm like, thank you, somebody who understands that. The other exciting part is his wife happens to be an occupational therapist. So I think they're going to have a better understanding of our college. That has been one of my complaints for a couple of years now, is that I'm not sure administration understood us and what we did. The provost, who was here about 2 years, not quite 2 years, she just left. So we have an interim provost. They will be searching for that. Our dean has also left, and we have an interim dean, so we will be seeing a new dean come in. And the part I'm excited about is that we are currently searching for a new chair of the program. Current faculty, CAF has some very strict requirements of who can be a director of a program. And of our faculty who can be directors, they all looked at me and went, no, I don't want it. So we are doing an external search. And hopefully, I think bringing in some new eyes will be really, really nice. Someone who can look at our curriculum from a different lens, I think will be helpful. So I'm actually really excited about that happening. So, because as you all know, I've always said this, I learned a long time ago, I'm not the smartest person in the room, probably not even close to second or third. So I think having someone else to take a look at it's going to be really nice. All right, Sarah, I think the next slide is yours.
Thank you, Deb. Can you all hear me? Yep, okay. So hi everyone, my name is Sarah and I'm the Associate Director of Development for the College of Health Professions here at CMU. I just wanted to chime in really quickly to talk about an awesome opportunity that we have going on right now. So our PT program has a scholarship that was originally founded by Dr. Herm Triesenberg and Dr. Elizabeth Mostrom, who are on this call. Some of you probably recognize those names. The scholarship is called the Professional Values Award, and each year students in the program are nominated by peers to receive the award. So it's a really special, unique scholarship we have on campus here specifically for the PT program. We're currently doing a fundraiser right now to grow that fund, and thanks to a match provided by CMU Physical Therapy and an anonymous faculty member, every dollar that you donate right now will be matched up to $4,500. So if you feel like supporting the program, it's a great time to do it. We're planning on keeping that open through Giving Day for this year. So that's my spiel about supporting the program. And then lastly, I just wanted to take a second to recognize Deb. After 29 years here at CMU, she's retiring in June of 25. We've been really lucky to have her with our PT program, and she takes a lot of pride in the fact that she has taught every group of students except for that first class that graduated in 97. I'm sure many of you have worked with Deb or had her as a teacher during her time here, and it means a lot to have all of you join us today. So just wanted to say thank you to Deb and congratulations. And I think our next slide is going to be a chance for people to ask questions and chime in. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, there was a joke at my house. My husband, my first few years of my professional life, I kept moving about every 5 years, and I kept saying that was the great thing about being a PT, because my husband goes, well, you're just saying where long, because he worked for the state for a long time. And I said, well, I've been a physical therapist for 20 years. He is amazed I've made it this long at one place. So I'm just, thank you, and I do appreciate that. And let's open it up. Come on, I know some of you in this room did talk in class, so you can say something. Yeah, him too.
So
Well,
I
I'll
have a
say
question.
something, Deb. Mike Shirla, 06. Wow, it's fun to look at all the past, and there were some pictures of us in the new building, and it really takes me back. I definitely feel a lot older today, but proud, but proud. So it's great to see and hear what's going on in the future, and yeah, and see some of the old professors, and I didn't know they were even retired, like Tim Zippel and Elaine Betts and stuff. So that's great. And congrats though, Deb. You were obviously my advisor.
Mm-hmm.
I thank you for.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it, Mike. I do. And just so you all know, I think we're going to have a story about Mike coming out soon. He's been working with Katie, and who's our communications person. So I've seen the emails flying back and forth. So it's going to be pretty cool. Because Mike got to go to Paris for the Olympics. Yes, he did. So I'm pretty excited to see that happen. So thank you.
Yeah, we had our talk yesterday. Sorry, I get emotional. I guess I'm getting more emotional as I get old, but it's yeah, I mean, obviously Paris was special, and I mean, you always supported my goals, and it's been super cool to reach those goals when I was thinking back in PT school about trying to do it, and finally came true. So and yeah, anything I can do I was talking to Katie and Sarah yesterday, anything I can do to help the future people reach their goals, and it's a great program to do that. So I'm all here to help.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is Marty Seitzma, class of 97. I'll ask a couple questions. Where geographically are you getting students from? And also, just thinking about diversity, which is such a problem in our profession, is that something you're consciously looking at or being able to achieve that?
Yes, so to both of those. So we actually are getting from all over the state. We're getting from out of the state. Our program has never charged out-of-state tuition. We had some scholarships, and now the university isn't doing out-of-state tuition anymore. So we do get students from Indiana, a few from Ohio, with our hope, and we were getting Wisconsin and Minnesota students, and we also tend to get students from Illinois. But we also get students, from the Grand Rapids area, the Detroit area, the rural areas, the UP. We probably, I would guess, I would have to check with the other programs, we probably, more of the UP students probably come to us because we're closer to home. In terms of diversity, it is a problem. As a matter of fact, I just finished the program review that I have to do for the university after we have our accreditation, and that was one of the weaknesses of our program. Some of it has to be where we're located. Even on our CAPTI visit, because we had acknowledged it was an issue, we've been talking about it for a long time. Their comment was, but we reflect the diversity of our community. So we have some, but we're not where we need to be. I'm hoping Emily Shuby, who's one of our new faculty, her area of research is in cultural competency of physical therapists. And she's a recent grad, has just did a really great story on minority students in PT education and how they feel. So I'm hoping that as Emily's research gets published, we'll get noticed by maybe some minority students who want to come here. So yes, we're very aware of it. We're trying to figure out what to do. And if people have suggestions, please let me know.
Deb, could I tag to that just a little bit? So the last couple of years, our diversity has increased. Our first year class is probably one of our more diverse classes. But one of the other things that a few years back at one of the educational leadership conferences, I heard someone say was, we're really going to have to start marketing physical therapy to younger and younger K through 12 students. And I remember sitting in a meeting hearing 6th grade. So interestingly enough, that stuck in my head, and Dr. Jessica Sullivan and myself have created, and we're working on getting a grant. We've actually created a curriculum, a STEAM curriculum, to go into 6th grade schools in some of the rural and inner city areas in Michigan to introduce the field of physical therapy. And we've taken the K through 12 Michigan curriculum objectives and built them into that program. And we're hoping, if we're successful in running it a couple times and getting students to be more interested at a younger age, that will help them focus on their studies. Some of those students of diversity and maybe in underserved places where they're not getting the advanced STEAM classes to be more interested and understand what they need to do. But we've also talked to the executive leader of the MPTA, and if we can get that curriculum to work well, it might be something that we could publish for free to the MPTA members to run some of those things as community volunteer programs in their own communities and really help us boost the chain of people coming in. So sorry for that long reply, but hopefully that's another way. It's just another way to try and get out what we do to people who may not know until maybe their grades or their support systems haven't helped them to become as successful as they need to be in the program.
Does that answer your question, Marty? Yeah, we are aware. We're working on it. Anybody else have a question or comment?
Sure, I do.
Okay.
Deb, I can't believe you're old enough to retire.
I am, trust me. Let's just say I have a hairdresser with a really great bottle of color.
But looking back at, it's like, oh, early years of the program slides, and I'm like, that's my class. That's my friends in Pierce Hall, which is really funny, and it's great to see so many people I know on the call, and the Triesenbergs. It's cool to see you guys and Dr. Batts. Yeah, partially I just want to say thank you, and it was really nice to have this invitation to check in on this call. My question is, how is being connected with or having a medical school connected to the building? How is that influenced or changed things, or is it just totally separate? Yeah, does it have any effect?
Sort of. So they are somewhat separate because it's only the first 2 years of the medical school that's here, because the last 2 years are over in Saginaw. But what it has done is expanded our interprofessional education experiences. So the med students are now part of that. And we've added another one in the second year where they bring in standardized patients to mimic post-stroke care. And the med students are there with the PT students and a lot of and the speech students and athletic training, and everybody's kind of there. And so that has expanded that piece. The other piece it has done is Dr. Chowdhury has gotten very. They were doing this thing called the Ortega stuff. It's for fall prevention. The PT students can't actually do it because of the way it's set up. It's a home health kind of thing. You go into the home and help them with exercise and do screening. So they're training a lot of undergrads with, which can then get them interested in PT. So there has been a couple of research items that have gone on with the med school, but that's about the extent of the actual connection. And I don't know if you've heard, but the med school is discussing moving the entire program to Saginaw. And that was actually the original plan. Matter of fact, I'm on a committee. This tells you how old I am. I'm on a committee for the historical reason, because I knew the history and nobody else did. Because when it was originally built, that was the plan, that they would start here, but then they would eventually move everything to a larger, where they had a health system to be able to work in. And so I don't think that's going to happen soon. We're talking 5 to 8 years down the road when they get everything moved over there. So they aren't going to maybe be here in the future. So, but we do talk to them. I mean, there is some conversations about the system and where, how some things work, but we are 2 different colleges. We are not a combined college at all. It's a College of Medicine and a College of Health Professions. Anybody else want to add to that? That's kind of my extent of what we've done. I mean, I've met with their dean, their vice president, about some things, and we do talk, but more of that happens at the dean level, probably.
So there is an opportunity for students. So Dr. John Andraka does teach some of their musculoskeletal examination techniques, and he takes some of the physical therapy students to help run those labs. So the PT students are actually teaching the medical students some of the tests and measures that you would do for musculoskeletal. So that's another musculoskeletal opportunity. So there's a neuro opportunity and a musculoskeletal opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you. I'd forgotten about that. I mean, I know about it, but the language is whispering in my ear.
I was whispering in her ear that we do that.
So, anything else that people would like to know?
Hello, everybody. This is Elizabeth.
Hey.
My faithful husband, Herm.
Faithless.
Yeah. I just wanted to say how nice it is to see some of the alumni here. And thank you for the overview of the program. And I appreciate the recognition of the clinical education component and all the wonderful regional coordinators over the years. But I really wanted to say thank you to the alumni who have continued to support a lot of our students and serve as clinical instructors or site coordinators and things like that. That's really important in keeping availability for the clinical experiences for our students. And I just really want to thank those people who have stayed connected and continue to support the program and the development of our students over the years.
I just have one thing to say as well, and that would be, you guys have sure got a lot older. I don't know what's happened to all those students. You guys were all young when I last saw them. But I don't think you even make a P-Treesy's team anymore, the way it looks to me. But
Or the most
and the other thing is that we did have a ton of involvement with the medical school in the beginning and the initial development of it. And a lot of it was sort of that there were going to be a lot of collaborations, and that we were going to try to teach courses together and do a lot of things. And so we were involved in a lot of their curriculum development and just a lot of stuff. But it's sort of, I think it might have just fizzled a little bit with the changes in leaderships across the different groups. And I think it sounds like it still would be a wonderful opportunity. And I think a lot of the medical schools that have or PT programs that have capitalized on their involvement with medical schools have really benefited from it. But it's one of those things it's really hard to do because both have such extensive accreditation kind of requirements. But right now, collaborative education is very, very very into things. It's one of the big things, and so I think it's a good opportunity right now even to try to get involved if we could. But again, you got to have a champion for those kind of things, and you got to have leadership that really wants to do it. And I think you'll see what the new leadership in the college of health professions are, and that would be one of the questions you'd have to answer. But anyway, so good luck.
All right.
Anyway, that's it. We're off.
We're gonna mute.
Hey, Herm, I have one question for you.
Yes.
What happened to Kermit the Frog?
Kermit is still with me. He's gone through some iterations. He's been played with by grandchildren now instead of just my children.
And dogs.
And dogs. Every now and then we get a hold of them, and we sort of try to prevent that from being too destructive. But otherwise, yeah, Kermit's still with us. He's on a shelf in my study, watching everything I do, which is limited now.
Not much.
Yeah, not much. I do a lot more kayaking and biking and those kind of things than I do study or working on papers or anything. So yeah, but he's alive.
Cool, good to know.
It's funny because I was gonna also ask for Kermit. I was gonna bring it up because now that I have moved out of the clinic more and is primarily academic setting, I have an insane amount of respect for everybody that taught me 12 years ago, which a lot of you guys are on this call. So now that I'm teaching peds in human development, I have my own baby doll and go through it and things like that. But to everyone on the call, but especially Deb, I mean, teaching peds, continuing to grow that passion has led me to where I am now teaching peds. So it's really something that's surreal and just really cool to be on this call and to see it come full circle, and then to see you be able to move on and continue to just do everything that you want to do. So congrats, Deb.
Thank you. If you want, I will give you my Raggedy Ann. I don't have Kermit. I have a Raggedy Ann that I used. I swore I would never do it because my faculty member used a Raggedy Ann. I said, I will never do a Raggedy Ann. Was at some antique store and saw it, and I got to have a Raggedy Ann. So
I just have to say, Kermit has a lot more street cred than either a doll or Raggedy Ann. That's all I got to say.
I would agree. So, and Lindsay, I have to apologize too, because I know I owe you an email. I remember I got lost. I was thinking about this and I went, oh, I owe Lindsay an email response. So call me, we'll talk.
That sounds good. No worries. I was like, maybe she forgot. Maybe she forgot me. I'm not sure. I was talking to Jen earlier about it.
I had some time off, and when things come in like that, I get them. I go, okay, I'll come back to this one, and then they get lost in all the others that come in. So that is on me, and my apologies. Anybody else have any questions or comments you'd like to make?
This is Andrew Harrington. I just want to say thank you, Deb, and congratulations. And thank you to all the faculty members. I think I feel similarly. The further out I am from the program, I just look back more fondly and just thankful for all the experiences I had, and Deb for assisting with doing like a pediatrics research project, and then the clinical faculty helping to give me the opportunity to do a pediatrics clinical right at this clinic that Helen Voss Outpatient Rehab, where I work now, and just kind of inspiring that passion, and just thankful for all of the work that everybody does.
It's probably worth
Thank you,
pointing
Andrew.
out that Andrew was one of the Professional Values Scholarship recipients. So
He was.
way
He
to go,
was.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Thank
He was.
Thank you for your contributions.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you as well.
Anyone else? One of the things I'd like to do, if for anybody who has an interest in coming back and maybe doing guest lectures and stuff, I'd like to shoot me an email and we'll start keeping a list. Those of you who are in the area who might want to help as adjunct lab instructors, let us know, because we're always looking for people to help with some of the labs. It's a nice way if you think you might want to get into education as a way to maybe do that. So we'd love to have you do that. I mean, I try to find grads when we do some of these things. So again, just shoot me an email of a topic or area that you feel like you could come in and talk to, and I will pass your name along. We will keep a running list of people who can, who want to do some of those things. And we've had faculty. I see Robin not here. Robin taught peds for us for a while. We've had other faculty who've come in and taught courses for us. So there are other alumni, who've come in and taught courses. So if anybody's interested and you want to get your foot in the door for education, let us know.
Deb, I'm going to send a follow-up email to everybody with a link to this recording along with the survey. So I will go ahead and throw your email address in there too, just to make sure that everybody has it.
Perfect. Perfect. I would like to echo before, because we're getting close to that time. I do want to echo Elizabeth sentiments in that I'm really appreciative of the number of you have come. It's really nice to see people. Anybody who's not been here and seen the new building, let us know. I'm happy to give tours. I'm happy to take you around and show you what we have now. I will tell you, for those of you that were in Pierce, you're going to cry when you see their lounge, because it has a full kitchen in it now. Remember, there was no place to sit and eat, right?
We sat in the hallways.
I remember being at Pierce and walking around everybody's feet because you were sitting in the hallway. So when we moved here, we had a small office. It was like great, students had a place to go. And the new building has plenty of study areas and seating and things, but now they're really spoiled. So they don't realize it, but they are. But anyway, anybody wants to come get a tour, you're in the area, give me a buzz. We'll be happy to take you around and show you the new area. Any groups who want to get together, we had the class of 98. Wasn't a lot of them, but they came in for an alumni weekend and we did some stuff with them. So anybody who wants to get your class together for alumni weekend or something, again, let us know. We're happy to add the building as part of the tour. And again, thank you all. Allison, thank you for pulling this together for us. I appreciate it. And Sarah,
Yep,
to get this done.
absolutely.
See if I can get in the camera to say goodbye.
Oh,
I'm clouded out, but thanks for coming, everyone. Good to see you.
Thank you everyone for attending today. And I will follow up with an email for everybody with this recording and such. Please, like Deb said, reach out to her if you need to connect. And I hope you have a great day and enjoy the weekend here the next few days. Fire up.
fire up.
Bye, everyone. So glad to see you.